You want to live a life on fire and on mission. You want to be filled with such conviction and drive that you stop caring about what anyone thinks. You want to face each day alive, authentic, and fully present in every moment. With your wife, with your kids, on the street, at work. You want to bring yourself to the table and to stop bringing the watered-down, nice, what everyone wants version of you. You want that self to be a man who is burning in passion for Jesus, unafraid to bring his kingdom to anyone in your path, no matter what it costs you. You want to love the one in front of you without fear, without needing love back, and without reserve. You want to husband well. You want to father well. You want to shepherd your life well. You want to be a safe pillar for anybody around you. You want to experience God for real, to not just believe, but to know that he's got you, and that he'll show up on your behalf, that he'll show up through you. You want to get to the end of your race and say, yep, I gave it everything. Jesus, you know I'm all in. And you want to know just how to get there. Welcome to Man, Warrior, King. I'm your host, Matt Halleck. Congratulations. You're among the violent, taking the kingdom by force. You're among the chosen, answering the call to rise above yourself. You're in the forge, being stripped down and strengthened, and you will rise stronger, solid, unshakable. You are a man. You're a warrior. You are a king. Good morning, and welcome to another episode of the Man, Warrior, King podcast. I'm your host, Matt Halleck. I'm the founder of the Man, Warrior, King movement. I'm the author of the book, The DNA of a Man, and most of you who listen to this show know me from that book. And today, I want to bring to you the first part of however many parts of a podcast series on the DNA of a warrior. If knowing what it means to be truly man, if we can consider that stage one, then we would consider this warrior identity, this warrior calling, this warrior role in your life is stage two. In the church, we have two pretty big camps of men. I don't know if you could call it camp, maybe not, maybe categories of men. And obviously not every single man fits into one of these two. There are some who have found a better way, but from my experience, from what I've seen, the big camps are these. You have men who really value their faith, who value the kingdom, who value Jesus and his word. And they take it seriously, and it's a major part of their life, if not the major part of their life. And these men often, because of the desire, the drive to be a good Christian, they often start to adopt certain mindsets and ways of thinking that begin to do a disservice to them, that begin to actually start to weaken their frame and begin to have actually a set of negative consequences in their life. And this mindset is a mindset that the church at large has really espoused for a long time, and it's not the fault of these men. It's not your fault if you're one of them. And the mindset is that I need to start becoming less selfish, and in doing so, I need to learn how to better accept or put up with
the negative circumstances in my life. It is in a way selfish of me to fight for things to change, to desperately want for things to change, to, in a manner of speaking, take matters into my own hands. Because, after all, I am not in charge. God is in charge. And in fact, He's in control. And so if I find myself in a situation that I do not like, my main duty as a Christian man who wants to submit to the authority and the rulership of God, my main duty is to not change the way things are, but to learn to humbly and obediently endure the way things are, because those things must be God's will, and I would be disobedient, fit-throwing, and selfish if I were to want things to be different. And so these men see the high calling of the Christian life as learning how to endure suffering better. And learning how to hand over the reins to Jesus. And then we just learn how to thank Him. We learn how to figure out how to love and be happy somehow. But ultimately, it's all about God getting glory anyway, so I'll try to keep a good attitude. Then you have another camp. This is the camp of men who believe in Jesus, may even go to church, but for all intents and purposes, it doesn't take up too much space in their life, in their heart, because they can't seem to get on board with the passivity that they see so often promoted in the church. They can't get on board with this. Well, God's just in control anyway, so He must know what He's doing, and I'll just try to keep a good attitude. That doesn't sit well with them, and so rather than go all in the kingdom, they stay on the outskirts because they're not ready for that kind of a lifestyle. And in fact, they have a strong sense that it might cost them quite a bit if they were to live that way. And so they end up feeling on the outside of the kingdom, on the outside of the church, because they don't feel like they're in any place to be a good Christian man. And I am wanting to call you today, this morning, to a different path. It's a path of a warrior. And this warrior path, it might rub some people the wrong way. I don't really care. I believe it's the right way. I believe that the passive Christian way of doing it is wrong. And I don't believe that's anywhere close to what the Lord has called us into as men in His kingdom. See, a warrior, by very definition of the word, of their title, they know how to fight. And you might feel like you either do or don't know how to fight. If you don't know how to fight, it's not your fault. You've not been trained. You see, a warrior doesn't look at life circumstances and automatically assume that his high calling is to live within those circumstances. That his high calling as a Christian is to be agreeable to them. That's never been the way of the kingdom. You look at Jesus himself, who entered into the world, and he looked around at his circumstances and he did not agree with them. He did not look at the world around him and say, well, God is in control. He's been in control from the beginning all the way up till now. And so he must have a plan in all this suffering. I'm just going to let it happen. I mean, think about it. He could have gone through his life and not healed a single person, not cast out a single demon. He still could have lived a sinless life, and he could have died, and he could have taken away the sin of the world without doing any of the disruptive things that he did. Any of the disagreeable things that he did, where he said, no, I don't agree with how this world has gone, and I will change it. Inside the DNA of a warrior, there is an ancient, a primal knowing. A primal knowing of how things are supposed to be. He may not be able to explain why he knows it. He may not be able to pinpoint how things are even different from how they should be. He just knows that they are different. But he knows that things are wrong. And he's not okay with it. He's not willing to just sit by and take it. I want you to think about the 12 men who went to look at the promised land. I want you to consider for a moment which of those types of men you've been in your life. There were 10 of them who looked at the way things were. They looked at the giants. They looked at the formidable cities that they would have to conquer, and they said, we can't do it. It's too much for us. This land devours the people. See, they were looking at the circumstances around them, and rather than disagreeing with those circumstances, they agreed. The circumstances said, you can't do this. It's too much for you. You'll never make it. You'll never come out alive. Your wives and your children are going to be eaten up if you come in here and try to take this land. And those 10 spies, they said, yeah, you're right. And in the agreeing with the circumstances, they betrayed the voice of God. They betrayed the history that God had built with them, saying, I'm giving you a land that is good, that is flowing with milk and honey. It's yours, not that of the people who are currently in it. But when they saw with their eyes the way things looked all around them, they said, God, we don't agree with you. We agree with circumstance. But I want you to think about this, gentlemen. This is not so different from you and I. This is not so different from you and I waking up from one morning to the next and looking at whatever it is in your world, in your life, that you know, that you want to be different. And something inside of you tells you it should be different, that this is not okay. This is not how things were meant to be. But you quench that voice and you say, and you fill it with all the religious jargon that says, but God's in control. He knows best. He knows what he's doing. Who am I to stand up to this? Who am I to make any change? I'm telling you, gentlemen, it's no different than the 10 spies. If God really wanted me to have this promise, he would have rolled out the red carpet. Guys, I'm talking to myself. You go through some stuff and you come to a point where you wonder how much more you can take. When day after day, time after time, you keep getting beaten, punched, sucker punched. You get the rug pulled out from under you. You get a test result back. You get a notice in the mail. You get a look or a fight with your wife. And you wonder, maybe this is just my destiny, is to keep on getting defeated. Maybe it's just my destiny to not get the promised land and to settle on the outskirts. For these men, for these 10 spies, they were living by fear, living by what they saw. Maybe they were weary from being in the wilderness. And they let their hearts grow weak. And you say, but isn't it God's job to keep my heart strong? I thought he came in on the inside of me and he was supposed to transform me. Then why am I still so weak? And I would like to point you to David, where it says that when everything was coming against him, he had lost his family. All the families of his men had been taken away. His city had been ravaged, and his own men had turned on him and were wanting to kill him. And it says that he got away by himself, and he strengthened himself in the Lord. Yeah, God will reach down and make you strong and minister to your heart, but it takes a partnership. It takes you agreeing with him. It takes you saying, okay, God, I will strengthen myself again. I'll get back up one more time. Now think about the other two, Joshua and Caleb. These men were disagreeable. They looked at the land and what the land was trying to tell them. They listened to the 10 and what they were saying, and they disagreed mightily. And they did not go by what they saw. See, a warrior does not agree with his circumstances. A warrior digs in deep and listens for the voice of the Lord. He listens for the good promise of God. God is good. And he listens for that promise. And then he says, okay, God, yes, this is what you said. This is what I will do. And it looks impossible, but you've already said it's not. And so I disagree with the circumstances. I don't believe that you're in complete control, authoring every detail of what we see in front of us here. I believe that you have appointed me as a man of the kingdom to be an ambassador of the will of heaven in the earth. And right now, the earth, it's coming under submission. But it's not all the way under submission, and God is not in control. He's chosen to give the world over to the men and women. He's chosen to put it under our dominion. And if he were to be in control of it, he would be violating his own word. He would be violating his own legal system. He has no jurisdiction because he said, you, man, woman, Adam, Eve, you have the jurisdiction. And then we decided to give it over to Satan. And what we see now is us as men and women of the kingdom occupying this territory and taking it back. So the way things are in the brokenness of your life, it's not that God's authoring it. Now, am I saying that circumstances never reflect God's will? No. But a warrior doesn't let circumstances be the primary indicator of what God wants in his life. A warrior listens to the voice of his captain. A warrior digs into his battle plan. And he says, wait, God said that this is what was true. God said that this promise was to be mine. God said I was supposed to have a healthy and healed body. God said that my marriage is supposed to be intoxicating. God said that I'm supposed to prosper in everything that I do, and that poverty is a curse. God said that he would supply all of my needs according to his riches and glory. And right now, I'm not having my needs met. Right now, my body's in sickness. I disagree with this, and I won't put up with it. And I don't care if the church tells me that I'm being selfish or presumptuous or too audacious. It doesn't matter to me anymore. They can go stick it. But I've had enough. See, Joshua and Caleb, they looked. And instead of saying that the land was a bad land that would devour the people that tried to come take it, they said, wow, this land is good. The enemies in there, they will be bread for us. In other words, we will feed on them. They will sustain us. And they even saw things differently. It says that they saw that the protection that had been over the enemies in the land, they saw that it was removed. See, a warrior looks at things through a different set of eyes because he's been with God. I want to challenge you, gentlemen, to disagree with your circumstances, to be disagreeable in nature. That's what a warrior does. Thanks for listening, gentlemen. If you are able, I would love for you to leave a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and pick up The DNA of a Man and leave a review for that as well. And please share the podcast, share the book with whoever you can think of, because this world needs us men to stop being so nice. Me included. Our families need it. Your wife needs it. So share this around, gentlemen. If you haven't yet, consider joining the ranks of Adullam, where we go after this stuff weekly. We've been meeting for over 2 years now. Love you, gentlemen. Peace.
This is Matt Halleck signing off and thanking you again for being a part of the Man Warrior King community. If you want more, head over to manwarriorking.com. And please remember to take just a couple seconds to subscribe on iTunes and to leave a 5-star rating and a review so that more and more men can join us as we become awesome. You are a kingdom man. Go out, take more ground, push back darkness. Remember, you bring value into your home, your work, and your circle. You are not a taker, you are a giver. Abundance is your atmosphere.